City Council meeting Tuesday, October 10th, 6 p.m. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Acosta Junior,
Here.
Councilmember Robles,
Present.
Councilmember Hernandez. Here. Councilmember Lozaldi. Here. Mayor Julian.
We have a quorum. Please stand with me for the pledge of allegiance, and then after that, a moment of thanks, appreciation, or condolences.
Well, here is proof that it's
Ready?
free
Begin.
some of the
I
things
pledge
that
allegiance
to the flag
I recommend scooping the 3 bricks free deal. Be an idiot and collect these 3 free.
Under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
While we're standing, I wanted to look at the moment of thanks, silence and condolences. And, we see what's going on in Israel, and of all the couple thousand dead on one side and 1,000 approaching the other side. So moment of silence for those victims for that conflict. And also in Afghanistan, if we look at that, there's a couple thousand people that were killed with the earthquake. And then for those that are injured or killed during the war in Ukraine. So moment of silence for those that I mentioned, please. Thank you. To see what's going on in the world makes what we're dealing with locally, nothing.
Yes.
Nothing.
Perspective.
Yes. Given that. Agenda review at this time is a city council or council staff wish to call in to change the order of business.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Fine. Okay, the next item is ceremonial calendar. The first one is a proclamation for Hispanic Heritage Month. Councilperson Hernandez, please.
Hispanic Heritage Month, where areas the city of Guadalupe recognizes and honors the contributions of all members of our community, and where areas the observation of Hispanic Heritage Week started in 1968 under President Lyndon Johnson and was expanded by President Ronald Reagan in 1988 to cover a 30-day period starting on September 15th and ending on October 15th. It was enacted into law on August 17th, 1988, and where areas September 15th is the anniversary of independence for 5 Latin American countries: Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. And on September 16th, Mexico achieved independence, and on September 18th, Chile achieved independence, and where areas Hispanic Americans bring a rich culture heritage representing many countries, ethnicities, and religious traditions which contribute to America's future, and where areas during National Hispanic Heritage Month, the United States celebrated the culture and traditions and Spanish-speaking residents who trace their roots in Spain, Mexico, Central America, South America, and the Caribbean, and where areas throughout the history of the United States, members of the Hispanic community have shaped the social, political, and economic landscape of this country and our community, and where areas the city of Guadalupe invites all members of the community to celebrate 2023 Hispanic Heritage Month. Now be it resolved that by the virtual authority vested in the mayor and on behalf of the city council of the city of Guadalupe, Mayor Son Julian does recognize September 15th to October 15th as Hispanic Heritage Month. In witness whereof, he has set his hand and caused the seal of City of Guadalupe, California to be affixed this 10th day of October 2023.
Thank you. When it mentions my name, it mentions all of us, so thank you for doing that. The next item is a proclamation of Filipino American History Month. Mr. Robles.
Yes, Filipino American History Month, October 2023. Whereas the heritage of Filipino people enriches our own culture, and we welcome the history, culture, and contributions of the Filipino American community to our city, state, and nation. And whereas Filipino American History Month was established in 1988 to commemorate the arrival of the first Filipinos who landed in what is now Morro Bay, California on October 18th, 1587. And whereas the Filipino American National Historical Society, also known as FONS, recognizes the year 1763 as the date of the first permanent Filipino settlement in the United States in St. Malo Parish, Louisiana. And whereas the California Department of Education first recognized October as Filipino American History Month in 2006 by placing it on the celebrations calendar, while the 111th Congress of the United States and the California State Legislature also gave recognition. And whereas for generations, the United States of America has been fortified by the talents and efforts of its diverse residents of Filipino descent. And whereas the Filipino American community continues to accomplish its goal to foster understanding through the development, promotion, and preservation of Filipino values, culture, and tradition. These citizens have truly made a difference, and their professional and civic involvement will continue to enrich our communities far into the future. And now therefore be it resolved that by virtue and authority vested in Mayor Harrison on behalf of the City Council and the City of Guadalupe, we do hereby recognize October 2023 as Filipino American History Month and invite the community to study and explore the advancement of Filipino American culture, people, traditions, and values that have positively enriched our community. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Guadalupe, California to be affixed this 10th day of October 2023.
Thank you. George. Yeah. And then, the exhibit out there reflects that, so anybody hasn't had a chance to stop by and look at it. The next proclamation is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Mrs. Zeldi.
Breast Cancer Awareness Month, October 2023. Whereas breast cancer is one of the most commonly diagnosed cancers among women, and whereas Breast Cancer Awareness Month began in 1985 as a partnership between the American Cancer Society and Imperial Chemical Industries Pharmaceuticals, AstraZeneca. And whereas in 2023, nearly 300,000 new cases of breast cancer are expected to be diagnosed. And whereas more than 43,000 women die from breast cancer each year in the United States. And whereas the American Cancer Society has searched endlessly for a cure through vital research and has the mammoth task of educating our community and all Americans of the risks of breast cancer. And whereas increased breast cancer screening increases early detection, reduces death, increases life expectancy, decreases late-stage cancer diagnoses, and increases 5-year survival rates. And whereas this is an opportunity for the City of Guadalupe and all of our community to go pink in October to raise awareness, promote early screening, and honor those affected by breast cancer. Now, therefore, be it resolved that by the virtue and authority vested in the mayor and on behalf of City Council of Guadalupe, we do hereby proclaim the month of October 2023 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and ask all Guadalupe to join in this worthwhile cause to celebrate successes and memorialize lost battles. In witness thereof, we hereunto set our hand and cause the seal of Guadalupe, California to be affixed this 10th day of October 2023.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's always important to recognize. It's too bad we don't have a lot of people in the, well, maybe they're looking, but to see the proclamations and the history that these individuals have, is also on the breast cancer side of things. So with that, did you want to say something?
I did.
Okay.
I wrote a few things. So.
Good, thank you.
Hispanic Heritage Month is a reminder of the value of diversity and inclusivity in our community. It encourages us to be open-minded and welcoming to people from all backgrounds while we celebrate our achievements. Hispanic Heritage Month is also a call to action. It encourages civic engagement, participation in local government, and advocacy for the issues that affect our community. Filipino American History Month is a time to celebrate and honor the rich and diverse culture, history, and traditions of the Filipino community in the United States. This month serves as a reminder to share stories, traditions, and values that are central to the identity acknowledging the challenges that they may face, including issues related to discrimination and immigration and healthcare disparities. This month can provide a platform to address these challenges.
Great. Thank you for that.
Well said. That was wonderful.
Yeah.
And I think for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, just even if all of us in this room shared that message with other family members, relatives, and the community, that's how that information can spread and really maybe save somebody's life. Something as simple as discussing Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So I really appreciate the proclamation coming out today.
Thanks for those comments. All right, we'll go to item
Thank
6,
you.
community participation. I have so far one request to speak, Ms. Amelia Villegas.
I just want to mention briefly that next Saturday, October 21st, the Friends of the Guadalupe Library will be having a book giveaway. It'll be in front of the library, and for those of you who may not know where the library is, it's right across from Mackenzie. We have all levels of books that we hope to be giving away, starting from tots, the little people, up through adults. We don't have as many Spanish books this time because we gave majority of those away at the Cinco de Mayo celebration. So that was cool to do with them, but we don't have any now. You don't need a library card to have to come to get a book or 2 or 3. And if you don't, you can get a library card when you're there. It's free, no cost at all. You just need proof of residency here in Guam. And let me see my cheat sheet. Yeah, time, 11 to 12 noon. We have 1 hour. Because at 12 noon, we pack up everything and we go home. The library's still open, but the friends will be gone. Thank you.
Thanks, and
Thank
you know, just to piggyback on what Amelia was sharing, I'm so grateful you guys are doing a book giveaway. Where I work at the school in the library, we recognize that actually we're a book desert. So in Guadalupe, our homes are technically on the average, very low likelihood of having more than 10 books in a home. And we're seeing that in our children, that they're unable to read, they don't have access. So I really want to promote any events that we can put more books in our homes, in our community. I think that's a really wonderful thing. And so I'm just really grateful that you guys are doing that. And thank you for announcing that.
Good,
Thanks,
thanks.
Amelia.
You know, piggyback on that, this past weekend, the mayor's ball, there was the United Way showed a video of a little girl. Phil knows about it. She was like 4 years old,
Yeah.
reading a book to her mother.
Mm.
And it was being, I don't know who videoed it, people father. But how many years later? 14, 15, 16 years
Yes,
later?
I think she's 18, going to
18,
college.
Going
now.
to college,
Yeah.
and they had a video of her reading that book. Going to
Yeah.
college and really taking off because of that platform.
Oh,
To have a
absolutely.
book and to read, and reading to her mom. It surprised us because she was actually reading like, mother didn't prompt her, she just read what was on the book, so.
It's incredible to see, I think, right now, especially with this generation, because of technology, because things can be read to us. We have a lot of technology that can easily read to us now. Unfortunately, our kids are just not really able to read, and it's really putting them behind in school. So the more we can promote reading, whether it's the newspaper, a magazine, little booklets, the more we can put books in children and families' hands, plus just for mental health. I know we've discussed that before at previous meetings for adults. Reading is a great way to support mental health, to get off screens, to do something different. So any way we can promote books in the community, I just feel makes everyone, improve their life.
Okay. Shirley, do you want to say anything, or Shirley, you want to say anything?
No.
No? Okay. Good to see you back there. All right, I have no other request to speak. Consent calendar. Is there any individual council person who wants to pull an item on the consent?
No,
I'm okay.
Good. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All ayes. Okay. Next item, city administrative report, information only. Todd?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just to add to the little write-up, aside from the grant the sub-grant that you just approved, I just want to let you know of some others. We just received an award letter regarding Highway 1 lift station in the amount of 3.5 million. We also received 1.3 and some change for the project that involves upgrading the city's Amtrak station to a multimodal transit hub. The project includes implementing a public restroom, electric vehicle charging infrastructure, bicycle amenities, pervious pavers, improved signage, and site beautification upgrades. The site was originally designed for an average of 23 daily train passengers, but now must accommodate an additional 140 passengers per day that ride the city's fixed route bus system. The site is located adjacent to both the railroad and Highway 1, of course, you know, is very popular bicycle touring destination. So that wanted to highlight those. Also last week, I think it was Friday, Councilmember Costa Jr. had mentioned he smelt a horrible smell at 151 Obispo and Central. And then I got some calls as well, including our attorney mentioned it to me today.
On the way in.
And I think even the chief knows, but so I sent an email to Chris Bellamy and Jillian, and this is their response. Hi, Todd. The carbon scrubber, which is the device we use to control odor, had a defective part right out of the box. The VFD, which I don't know what that is, that controls the velocity of the fans would not let us dial down the speed, so it was only allowing us to operate at full blast. The problem with that is it just doesn't allow the carbon filters to scrub the air and eliminate the odor. We decided just to turn the unit off until the new part arrives. After the unit was off, I went out back, which I'm not sure if it's been eliminated, and I did not detect any odor. This was as of, I can't remember, 2:20 today. We are working on the fine tuning of all systems, and we should be good to go by the end of the week. So I thought it was important to bring that up. Let me think. I do know that Dwayne has something to say on the Leroy Park Phase 2 project. Go ahead, take it away.
All right, sounds like it's going. I did want to, Councilman Robles asked for an update on, Leroy.
I don't think your microphone is working.
It is, but you have to talk like into
Right in.
No.
Right in.
it, but like from not like that. I don't know, it's kind of tricky.
Okay.
There you go.
There we go. All right, I gotta be close, but not too close.
Right.
All right, currently we're in the environmental phase. There is a tribal, comment period that is, gonna end in 2 days. Once that period's over, once that's, all right. I know there was a trick to this. All right. Doesn't see the word to me, at least I don't care. Anyway, that environmental period will be over once that, with a comment period is done in a couple of days. At which time we can then apply for the grant and get the final grant award, and then we have the architect on board, and we can move forward with the actual process once that grant is awarded. You know, pending that getting the final environmental documentation.
A question on the tribal, you know, with the Royal Theater, we needed, because there's gonna be some ground disturbance,
Right,
a tribal auditor.
right.
And there was some communication with one of the groups that was to actually sign up and say that they're gonna be a monitor. Now, you say that in 2 days it's gonna be that.
Well, it really is, it's the same group that answered and didn't have any issues with the Phase 1 of Leroy Park, so they probably won't have any
Right.
issues
Okay.
with Phase 2. So it really covered the whole site anyway, but because it's a new project, they had to resend out the letter request to see if there's any issues of
Right.
burials or, so I don't think it'll be anybody will be there to monitor the site, but more than likely,
Okay, cool.
or a need to.
Right.
Because basically the whole site's been cleared once before.
Right,
Yeah.
it sounds like it's maybe a formality, like
It
we
is,
Yeah.
have to
it
go through this
is.
process, so
it-
because it is.
It's a different-
Part
it's a
of
whole
the,
different grant.
Right.
Part of
Yeah.
the grant,
Right,
Yeah.
they gotta check that box.
but it's still within the boundaries of the initial approval.
Yeah.
Right.
One more thing, Anna Maria we had a discussion yesterday and didn't want you to think she was ignoring the treasurer's report. And part of it is because we're still reconciling some of the books that are going back from, was it November of 2022? So Anna Marie asked if January. So I think she doesn't want to feel like,
Right.
like she's not doing her job.
Thank you. We know
Yeah.
we know you stay on top of this.
Just like, it is like, that's a lot of
Yeah.
months. Yeah.
I have a question for Todd.
Yeah.
When are we expected to see the electric bus? in town?
Okay, I see you're moving quickly on that one.
I just,
Go ahead, you were gonna say something?
oh yeah, I just talked to Dianera, yesterday actually, and she said within like the next, month or so. So she didn't give me like a specific date, but I guess they were just waiting on a part for it and that it's supposed to be in, sometime in the next couple weeks, so it should be up and running like sometime next month.
Just to let you know, there,
It is.
the technician, there you go. This one you gotta stay close. That one you stay apart. Okay. I'll get it eventually. The part has arrived and they were trying to get it installed today. So water, the wastewater plant to have that charging done. I don't know if they were successful or not, but it's in process.
Good, thank you for that update. And
I also have a question for Todd.
Yeah.
On 151, I know we discussed it previously about possibly when they were up and ready to roll, that if we were invited to get a tour of the facility.
Yeah, it's great because I actually talked to them last week and they came in and thanked the city and once they get acclimated, they
Okay.
definitely will set that up. They've made a point to tell me that. So
Okay,
they want to give you a tour.
yeah, I'd love to take a tour,
Mhm.
for sure.
I mean, maybe we want to wait until after the scrub.
Right,
scrub
let's
gets-
wait till they're compliant.
it was interesting that coming this way, that the big gate on the south side was open.
Hmm.
And I'm thinking, why would that be open? But the other side is probably
Oh.
secure, but it's just wondering,
I think isn't that the parking,
yes,
that gate?
yeah, the first big gate as you come, as you're going north on Bismarck Street.
Yeah, I think that's their parking.
Well. I would,
I agree with you,
yeah,
yeah, in terms of
it seems like
security.
it's open. What if somebody were to drive in there? But
I'll try to get
that's the
in.
Chief's problem.
They're supposed to hire 80, they're supposed to hire like 80 employees. I'll
Right.
find out where they're at with that. Just
Yeah.
was curious.
One
Yeah.
step at a time.
Yep.
Any other questions of Todd or Dwayne? All right, item 9, Director of Public Safety Report, information only, Chief Cash.
Thank you, sir, and city council. Just to follow up, I did do a tour and because I had to check out all the cameras and we signed off on all the sprinklers and all the other systems. The parking lot, I met their security person and they'll be stationed there inside of the gate as employees kind of go back and forth. But employees are not allowed to head back out once they're in, so that no product leaves the facility. So we definitely have that. And then we checked on all the systems, so I do have access to their cameras systems. So I can view, and I saw where all their cameras were, and I saw where the screens are. And so we made sure that the city has proper access to all their camera systems. So they're working on everything else, but they're being a good partner as we speak right now. Just real quick, sorry, my radio is I'm somewhat finished on our public safety. We're looking at a restructure We've been meeting with another department north of here. And the POA has met with me to see how we can become more efficient. I think that was something that was brought up by one of our council persons, probably more than one. We're just looking at that. So I'm waiting eventually for our HR person to kind of come on board. So we've written up a lot of the different job descriptions. There's not going to be, a change as far as we're looking at ways to kind of save money, to be more efficient, and to put more resources in the streets. The other thing we met today, we're all pretty much secured with the generator, but there was some discussion about some other electrical issues that we're working on. So we had Hannah and Rudy and from buildings, Eddie, okay, I had to get that correct. Todd put the meeting together. So we're working out that, but this is moving ahead. We great talk with the company. It could be between 4 to at least 5 months. It has to be built to our specifications, but everything is pretty much set. We just got to figure out the load and how the electricity aspect's going to work. But we pushed aside from just being able to have the police wing have power. We're looking at having the whole city, as far as the whole city building have power. So this would be an emergency shelter. It would have police, fire, finance, and our city council will be able to make decisions. And God forbid, worst case scenario, this would be the hub if all the electricity goes out. So we're really kind of excited about that. Another thing is brought by our one of the city councils, and we appreciate Todd for having the grant writer on board. So we have we're ahead of the ball. We have everything set for the firehouse sub grant. It's all done. It's written. We're just waiting for it to open up at Thursday at 7 a.m. and she's ready to hit the button so we can try to get there as soon as possible because there's only so many slots available. So thank you on that, Todd. Everything, I have it on my desk and she has it ready to go, signed off on it. Yeah, she's really good. Never met her, but supposedly at least she did the paperwork. So I appreciate that. We'll be introducing a new fire captain at our next council. We went through the process and we're really excited with the candidate. I'll kind of leave that until we are able to do that at our next council meeting. Impact fees, that was something else that was brought up. We're looking for ways not only to raise revenue, but for public safety to hopefully step a little bit more away from the general fund and to be able to access funds from some of the contractors and so forth. The report is done and we talked with the firm. They want to do a workshop. I reached out this weekend to the GBA president. He's reviewed it, has some questions. They're excited. And the firm brought up and says, do the workshop first because no one likes this, but at least you can get everyone to give their comments instead of taking all that time at city council and people just complaining. We can be able to work with the groups before we bring the actual study to city council for final review. We have completed, and I think it'll be on the next city council agenda, the emergency response procedure report. Councilperson Hernandez brought that up. Do we have an emergency plan? Finally finished it, 65 pages, it's done. And it's good because it's supposed to be mandated for every city. And a lot do not have it, they just kind of skip it. So it's completed, turned in. I think it's with our city attorney for review and hopefully we'll be able to have that. And that'll make it a whole lot easier to receive funds from FEMA and everything else when disasters. And it gives a whole outline of how we're supposed to respond as a city. So training will eventually be attached to that for all levels, for city council, for all the different departments and so forth. We've been tasked, we're working with our partners at the Guadalupe Union School District. We'll be providing first aid training They had requested that for their employees. So we're working on trying to look at schedules to kind of handle that. We put together through the Little House and GBA, we have groups called the Guadalupe Safety Support Team, GSST. So I'm sure some of these members are watching right now. This came about, and I really have to give a lot of kudos to the mayor and Mrs. Mayor, First Lady, is after we had the flooding incident, we had a lot of volunteers, but there was nothing really in place of structure and so forth. It was just lead. And we really appreciate that, but this group came together, but we need to be prepared next time so that we can provide services. We will provide housing and food and clothing and transportation. It was great to see, for the ones who got to see it, how just community involvement was outstanding. So now we have a structure and we have citizens who want to be in charge of that. And so now we have a way just to turn it on. When we have something like that, first responders can go do their job. We got this citizens group. We just went through all our policies, procedures, and guidelines and everything else. And they're excited. And so we'll get more nonprofits that'll also be involved. So we'll look at ways to check on seniors and everything else like that when we have power outages and so forth. So they're really excited, and it's fun to have community involvement. And the last part, we just got through signing on a letter of support so that we can prepare for the Kiwanis and the Christmas parade. So it's just right around the corner. We've done the paperwork and signed off on that. So we'll be planning with them as we go further. That's my report.
Thank you. Any questions, Chief?
Thank you. I appreciate that you're working on that plan. I do have a question. Is there any update on Jack O'Connell? I've seen some cameras recently, and I was just wondering if there's like an uptick of issues in that park.
No, we haven't had any additional issues or crime. I was there this weekend. Matter of fact, we're discussing the car show. I forgot the name. Just yes. Okay. I met with them this weekend, and we were just making sure they had everything prepared. Hannah is through caution, wants to make sure everything is taken care of the park. So we had extra cameras that we had left, I shouldn't say left over, but that we already have cameras at Leroy. And so we had additional cameras that we purchased. And so we have those there. And so those would be solar, and we're able to use and spotlight those. So we're blessed right now. Our crime is great. I'm not going to say any other cities that are close by that has issues, but we do not. And so it's just a lot of precaution.
I think, I don't know if you're referring to that graffiti that was a couple weeks ago. I think that you folks took care of it, the Parks and Rec. So where are the cameras located? Will they be located?
Wow, just gonna put that out in the air.
Well, the reason I'm saying that, I'm not saying specifically, but we had a build in Lompoc, and we used a building, a fixed building next to our construction project, and they stole the camera. So wherever you put it, make sure it's high and the pole is greased. That'd be the case. But we need it over there. I think that we need another eye in the sky, or several eyes in the sky.
Well, it's even though I'm blessed to be in charge of public safety, it's a lot cheaper than personnel.
Yeah.
And it keeps 24/7, so I'm happy with that. But we do have them on poles in Jack O'Connell. So we just got another pole that we purchased out there, and on the building, and at Leroy they got some that are on all the exterior. So we pretty much, and that's one of our main points is on the bathrooms, not only for graffiti, but for any other crimes. And we also have the barbecue pit also. So we think all the points, but we're always open to suggestions if somebody sees anything else.
Thank you, Chief. Question? Any other?
No, I think I wanna just note that I have had several citizens, and I myself has noticed as well, just more patrols during the day. I think that people appreciate seeing our officers out, and so we just wanna thank you guys for doing that. And I think saying on the air that we have cameras out, I like that. I like putting it out there. It just allows people to kind of leave that in their mind, just in case we were thinking about going left and we shouldn't have. Just remember, there are cameras, and I like to hear that we are sort of being proactive versus reactive, right? We're trying to get ahead of things and make sure we have that infrastructure there. So thank you.
Several years ago, a couple of us went to Gilroy to see their cannabis distribution site. And meeting with the police chief, the mayor, they had 41 cameras throughout the city.
King City,
Kingston,
Okay.
what did I say?
Gilroy,
Gilroy, close.
on its way.
So 41 cameras outside, and the crime rate just plummeted.
Yeah.
And you're right, it's cheaper to have cameras than personnel. So. Okay, thanks for that update, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay, next item 10, regular business, appointment of one vacancy to the Recreation and Parks Commission. Ms. Sanchez.
Yes, sir. I don't have much to add to that. There's two interested individuals, so they both submitted their letters of interest before the deadline. The first one is Arnulfo Navarro III, and then the second one is Mike is it Rochlin or Rockland? Rockland. Okay, hard. Okay. Both of them are here today, so I don't know if you wanted to extend. the
Yes.
opportunity to speak to them.
You want to go first?
Yeah, what,
Rock, paper, scissors? Mike was here earlier. I don't know if he.
I think we go by what we have in our book. I think Mr. Nupo was
Articles first.
junior
Okay.
first.
Okay, first on the list.
And this is an open dialogue, so
Yeah, it's not.
there's no, we're gonna really drill down on what you're about there, guy. Let me, Hannah, can you let us know what's going on? There's a vacancy and,
Oh, yes.
okay,
There's a vacancy that's been open for, I believe. There was an individual that was appointed that was not able to attend meetings for the last, like, probably 4 or 5 meetings, and then the seat has been vacant for 2 meetings now. So we're just trying to fill that seat, and both people applied. I did see Mike earlier. I don't know.
yeah, I just
when
want
he
to
went,
know,
but
well, it's
yeah.
up to him.
I have a quick question. Hannah, what is the requirement? They have to be once a month?
Yeah, so there's one meeting, it's always the first Tuesday of the month, unless otherwise scheduled, as a special meeting, but it's only once a month.
All right, given that, we see your note here, wonderful. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, everybody. Name's
Good evening.
Ernie Navarro, the third. You may know my parents, sorry for Anita. I applied, I recently got selected as a resident artist for FSA, Little House by the Park, and Community Changers, which I'm really excited. So the next year, be doing a lot of community outreach, a lot of community events. We actually have a poetry jam coming up this Friday at the Betts Hall. Everybody's welcome. I know everybody here's a writer. Positive. And so that being said, I definitely want to get more involved with the community and really spearhead, knowing that I'm going to be here. This is going to be my focus. I want to branch out and do contact with Hannah and going through the motions of city involvement, trying to get the best hall as such. It seemed just like it made sense to fulfill that role, and then kind of getting a broader view of it, seeing where, the age bracket I fall into, the ideas that I have, the opportunity that's presented itself. I feel like it's a good match, and I want to just do some good work for this community. I grew up in this community, and I could really speak on how much this community has lacked on activities and things happening, and so I want to just change that, I don't want to point fingers, I don't care about, credit or whatever, I just want things to shift. I feel how much this community needs, and so I just want to, have more opportunity to make a difference and, have an outlet for not only youth, but like adults, it feels like it drops off once you're 18. Oh, no, it's an ongoing process that's just like it's a nonstop. And I'd love to get, top to bottom from the young and old, just involvement, trying something, it's an attempt, but it's fun. Fun.
Thank you.
Questions? Put them on the hot seat.
Are you gonna give us a plug for Halloween, the event that's gonna be at
Let's
McKenzie?
go. Yeah, right. Might as well. Halloween, I hope everybody's doing nothing. Well, we're having over at the Mackenzie Intermediate School, we're teaming up with Kiwanis and the school to have a lowrider trunk or treat with touch of style, as well as a roller disco. We're teaming up with Slow Roll, and they're going to come out, provide rentals for $5. We're going to have a whole rink going. We're going to have a barbecue with Kiwanis. We're going to have a cakewalk. Yes, a cakewalk. This should be a fun night. You're going to have a few activities, few table booths. If there's any interest of any businesses with like a booth there for participation, y'all are welcome. She's gonna hopefully be out there in the fire. And then the next day, we're actually gonna have a Dia de los Muertos event at the Vets Hall, which is gonna be a community Dia de los Muertos. We'll have a ofrenda that is, community-wide. So we're gonna release when you guys could come in and set up, but it's, just trying to get things going. They're gonna be happening.
We're within what time is the event at Mackenzie?
Mackenzie on Halloween night, Tuesday, it's gonna run from 5 to 9 p.m.
So for me, I love how you light up when you talk about an event. So, good job. If you're doing Parks and Rec, you have to really love the community. You have to want to participate in these events, and we need someone that's gonna have the energy to bring people together to have an event. It takes a lot of work to bring community partners together. And so to have that heart in that, and so seeing you light up when you talked about it, that was amazing. And of course, I think partnering with your professional role makes a lot of sense, right? So we're gonna be working in our community, working in that role. So thank you so much for your interest. And thank you for everything you're doing right now. That's really exciting. Those are some really exciting events.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I'd just like to add it's tough, growing up in this city and seeing how things are and the motion of things. I'm on a journey of believing myself, believing in this community, believing that I could, go beyond what I think I'm capable of. And, I want everybody to be on that boat of belief. We need to get that belief back in this community where we're rock solid, where we're not, looking outward, we're growing from within, that's the goal.
It's great. Any other questions, comments? I don't know, Mr. Rockland is
Yeah, I know.
not here. Well, we can't interview him if he's not here. What's the wishes of the council?
I want to thank them both for applying, because I think the fact that 2 individuals stepped up to apply is really wonderful. This is a volunteer opportunity, and so I really commend them both for showing that willingness to be involved.
Sure.
I would like to nominate Arnulfo Navarro for the position, but again, I'm just one vote.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'd second that.
Absolutely. Okay, any discussion? Let's have roll call, put everybody on the hot seat.
No pressure.
Oh,
Councilmember Costa Junior.
Aye.
Councilmember Robles.
Aye.
Councilmember Hernandez.
Aye.
Councilmember Rizaldi.
Aye.
Mayor Julian.
All right. Congratulations. We're gonna work you, man.
Yeah. I love that young energy.
I have a question, Hannah, this might be a question for
I think
you.
he's got you here.
So for individuals that are interested in volunteering, is there another role for them under recreation? Like if
Just
you.
volunteer. I mean,
Yeah,
The liaison.
I would say, any event that you hear about, so number one, the best way to get involved is to come to the Rec and Park Commission meetings. There's so many discussions, and even before he got appointed, he was at all the meetings and trying to get involved, and we can easily plug people in. It's just that if you don't show interest, like obviously we don't know that you want to be involved. So I would recommend coming to the meetings. They are live streamed on YouTube as well. So if you're not able to make it physically in person, I would suggest tuning in and just listening, trying to find out like what's in the works, what are discussions being had, because way before events are posted, even like on social media, we're already discussing them and trying to figure out how we're going to bring them about. So if there's anything that piques your interest or something that is kind of like within your wheelhouse, reach out to the Rec and Park Department, and even just the commissioners themselves. Joe, almost everybody that I've ever seen in the city knows who Joe Harris is. So if there's anything you're interested in, reach out to him. He always is one of the first people to be involved in whatever's going on. Michael Jimenez has been really active as well. Honestly, all the commissioners have been really great and been involved. But yeah, I would say reach out to Rec and Park Department first, or if you know somebody personally that's already involved, reaching out that way. We have volunteer applications. Anybody that's ever asked, hey, can I help? I've never turned anyone away. I think it's just a matter of letting me know that you're interested, because I don't really hear that very often, but when I do, I'm always excited to have people involved, and I know Rec and Park Commission is as well.
I think you hit it really well when you said to attend the meetings, because I feel like sometimes people don't know when to volunteer. That's a very broad brush stroke, right? So I think when they go to a meeting, they hear about committees, specific events, what they can actually commit to. So it's a great place to start. And I think just reminding everyone that that's an open invitation to the community is always a plus.
And events like the Halloween activity, working with FSA, working with people like Christina and yourself and everybody here. There's we need more interest in what's going on the recreation side. And I think that there's a ample opportunity and funds for us to get things going. So, you know, just like the environmental side where you're interested in trail walks and stuff like that. This is where the kids need to be able to get out once this beach opens up, or even go to Ocean or things like that, working with the Dune Center, coordinating with them, with Ray at Segovia and that group. And of course, Christina's her old job was there. So there's a lot of fingers out there that need to be put together in a fist. So
I think adding to that also, by attending or at least like watching the meetings, I think it would help a lot to know what the community's interested in, because I think that's kind of the other struggle that's kind of been going on. We've been trying to put a lot of events out there, but then a lot of times people don't show up, and then they're saying that they want different things, and it's like, well, if you come to the meetings and let us know what you want, we'll work on trying to get that done. But I think the struggle right now is that no one's really communicating those things, so we're kind of just guessing like, okay, what do we think the community wants, rather than getting like direct input on like, this is the type of event I want to see. I think Arnolfo did a great job of starting out with the poetry jams and kind of getting like another facet of Parks and Rec going, because I think we have seen a lot of sports. I think the city is very sports oriented, but we don't see a lot of fine arts type of things. So I think kind of broadening what we're doing. If there's other things that people are interested in, it's not just limited to sport activities. It's anything that, yeah, exactly. Yeah, so if there's anything that you're interested in, definitely reach out or attend the meetings.
Yeah, like painting those figures out over here.
Yeah.
Arnolfo could do that.
You know, and we should probably, I mean, I never know how to say this properly, but I really want to thank Hannah because post-pandemic has been very difficult for our community to find our identity again. I feel like pre-pandemic, everybody was willing to just jump in. We were doing events. We just had a much more engaged community. And I have noticed myself that post-pandemic, there is a disconnect. There's sort of this separation of like, do I dip in? What does that mean? What does that look like? And this sort of uncomfortable space, and you've been navigating that and, you know, trying to do different events, and we see you. And I feel like there's been a lot of progress made, believe it or not. I know it doesn't always feel like that when you're doing it, but I think there has been a lot of progress made in terms of events that people have enjoyed, and really starting to highlight just the idea of reinvesting in Parks and Rec and spending time within your community. So thank you, Hannah, and everyone on the commission as well.
Okay. Now we got that. The next item is street tree ordinance update, and thank you, Arnulfo. Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item was basically is being brought at the request of the Public Works Department because of some problems with enforcing it. It's laid out in the staff report, but I'll summarize. The ordinance, the street tree ordinance, it's called that, and it's in chapter 12.12, the Guadalupe Municipal Code. It's an old one. It was enacted in 1959. And I just learned that's before we had a municipal code, actually. That was 1985 when all the ordinances were put together into a code that we currently have. So it's a really old one. And at that time, there was a planning commission, and the ordinance delegated the administration and enforcement of the ordinance to the planning commission. That's the main reason why we're here before you today, because there is no planning commission anymore, and that means the city council has to take on that role. But there's a little problem. The ordinance had the planning commission be like the administrator and the enforcer, allowing an appeal to the city council if somebody didn't like the decision made by the planning commission. And that's not really practical when the city council's wearing two hats as the planning commission and the city council. So it makes sense for staff to essentially have the council change the responsible party for administrating and enforcing the ordinance from the planning commission to a city position. And we recommend the director of public works or designee with the assistance of code enforcement, which we have now, that sort of would be able to assist all departments with enforcement. As I said, this ordinance is quite old. The city was here, the town of Guadalupe was here long before there was a city. Trees, shrubs of significance were planted in public places and in public parking strips by Lord knows who. Maybe people in the town did it, maybe the county did it. We don't know. So the city valued the existence of the trees in 1959 because it passed this ordinance that basically provided it was a civil infraction or a criminal infraction to injure or abuse a street tree. And that's defined as any tree or shrub or plant in a public parking strip or other public place. The ordinance provides that the city may perform maintenance on any of these trees, these street trees, or it may remove them if they're dangerous. But it also could direct the owner of the private parcel or property where the tree is located to do those functions. As I said, recently, there's been a few issues where street trees have needed maintenance. Perhaps just the branches are blocking pedestrian access over the sidewalk, and Public Works asked code enforcement to issue notices of violations requiring maintenance of the trees, and a number of people refused to do it, saying it's not my tree. It's your city tree, you take care of it. And so basically we're at a standoff. Staff had this ordinance that empowered them to do it, but it was unclear because the planning commission was in charge of administering it, but then there's no planning commission, and understandably staff is reluctant to bring relatively minor issues involving street maintenance, maintenance of street trees to the city council. You guys have a lot more important things to do. So we are bringing this ordinance to you is some proposed updates. Basically, the main one is to designate the Director of Public Works or designee in place of the Planning Commission as the administrator and enforcer. Another change, of course, is we're specifically including that the director or designee may request assistance from code enforcement, code compliance. That would be great. And also the other significant change is to change the criminal penalty from an infraction, which carries a maximum fine of $100, which I think was probably defined in 1959. Just saying that $100 has been the cost of an infraction since I started practicing law 30 years ago. So it hasn't kept up with the price of inflation or the rise of hasn't kept up with inflation. And it certainly is not going to dissuade somebody who doesn't want to spend money on tree maintenance from having to pay a $100 fine. So in order to create a more significant deterrent for the ordinance, we're recommending that it be upgraded to a misdemeanor, which can carry a fine up to $1,000. And as I say, even though a misdemeanor can carry jail time, city would never seek jail time for something like this. Court these days would never impose jail time for a violation like this. It's mostly just to allow staff, code enforcement, to issue administrative fines up to $1,000 if necessary to obtain compliance. Now, all of this presupposes that the council would be in support of this type of arrangement. We have received communication from Garrett Matsura, a gentleman we're all familiar with and whom I have a great deal of respect. I respectfully disagree with him on this particular point. And for the benefit of the people that may be watching and don't know about this, he wrote, city administrator expressed some concern about the trees, basically saying that it's the city putting the onus of management of city-owned trees on residential and or business owners seems problematic in many ways. For owners to be financially responsible for the upkeep of trees they didn't plant, don't own, and have no control over does not seem fair. Certainly a valid point of view. He also says the maintenance of trees will be best undertaken either by city staff or with a certified arborist. I guess he means a contractor that would take care of the maintenance. And he disagreed with increasing the penalty. I obviously don't agree about increasing the penalty. I think it's important to do that. But that is the rub. Whether the city wants to take on this responsibility for maintaining trees that it does not have money for in its current budget, or if it's fair to ask the public to take on some of this responsibility. It's not necessarily the case that the city actually planted any of these trees. They could have been planted by previous owners that just happened to plant them on city property. The property of concern isn't really like the public places like the parks and whatnot. It's that strip of land that people think is their property because it's in their front yard, but it's between the sidewalk and the street. That actually belongs to the city because the city has an easement for roadway purposes. It's perfectly fine if the council wants the city to take on this responsibility, but unless it's funded, it won't get done. That's why staff has brought this ordinance requesting an update and a confirmation from the city council that it is appropriate to impose responsibilities for maintenance of the street trees on the private property owners. They do benefit more from them. And it has to, and also the city does have a benefit of maintaining an urban forest. Now, I'm not an expert in this. I did speak with Dayanara Cruz about this while I was working on the staff report and today. I said, what is the big deal with the urban forest? Well, it's important for a lot of reasons. It helps with greenhouse gases, which is obviously a big deal. The more trees we have, the better. Also, it provides shade that keeps energy costs lower for houses. And that is another reason why private property owners benefit from these trees. Aside from their urban, their aesthetic beauty. If the council basically doesn't want if the council directs us to basically change the ordinance so that private property owners can't be held responsible for maintenance, I would at least require or ask that the council include provisions not to allow them to injure or damage the trees. I know from my time in Santa Maria, a lot of times the street trees there would have roots that would get into people's old laterals, and they thought the city should pay for the replacement of their laterals, and that was an ongoing problem all the time. They would just soon cut the trees down. And I think that it's important that we at least maintain our urban forest. So regardless of where the council comes down on this issue about who's ultimately responsible for maintaining the costs, it's important not to, I think, completely gut the ordinance so that people are allowed to do what they want with the trees. I think that's pretty much all I had to say about this. I certainly can answer some questions if there are any. Mostly it's, we just need some direction about where the council stands on this issue. And like I said, I disagree with Mr. Matsura that, it does seem a little unfair, but although we don't do it in Guadalupe, it's often the case in other cities that private property owners are required to maintain the sidewalks in front of their house. That's very common. I didn't mention it in the staff report. It was already too long. And we don't have an ordinance that provides that. But I know other cities do. They don't always enforce it because, again, people get used to Public Works Department taking care of the sidewalks. But if somebody, I can speak from personal experience in Santa Maria when I worked there, if somebody was like driving a large truck over the sidewalk in an area that wasn't approved with the driveway and they damaged the sidewalk, they would get sent a bill for damaging the sidewalk. If it was a tree root that the city owned and damaged the sidewalk, the city would take care of it. But they also had substantial public works money there. And that's not the case here in Guadalupe. So again, the real issue you need to think about is how is this going to be paid for? Or first of all, do we want to maintain the urban forest? And if so, how are we going to finance it? And we believe that the proposed amendments to the ordinance will allow you to do that. And it doesn't require that the city impose all the costs of maintenance on the private property owners. If the city gets money and is able to provide funds to do this, the director of public works or designee can arrange for that to happen, or it can take care of the more expensive maintenance, maybe the tree removals, but then have the private property owners maintain the general maintenance, like keeping the trees trimmed so that people don't have to duck when they walk under or whatever. So with that, I close the staff report. I apologize for the length, but I felt it was important to lay out the issues and the subtleties. Thank you.
Thanks for those comments. I'm glad you mentioned this. I was just gonna have this put in our minutes, and you responded, you looked at Masuro's. One question, was this given to the GBA as a?
Oh, I did forget to mention something. Thank you for that. No, it was not.
Okay.
Again, partly because it was already on the books. I
Okay.
didn't think that was necessary, but also, as I found out today, I frankly didn't see this coming, so it was,
Okay.
I'm glad he wrote. Like I said, I have a lot of respect for him, and I'm glad he's paying attention. I hadn't really thought about it. It turns out, the city actually doesn't have to ask the private property owners on the state highways to maintain whatever street trees are there, because there is funding from that. And although Ms. Cruz couldn't tell me the exact funds, it has to do with our responsibilities for, it has to do with the fact that they're public highways. There's some funding available, and Public Works already takes care of the trees on Guadalupe and Highway 166, if there are any. So this really won't affect the business association.
Right.
And I didn't know that at the time I wrote the staff report. Otherwise, I would have mentioned that. But nonetheless, his point is valid with respect to the residential areas.
Well, the thing with that is that the city doesn't have the money to actually have staff to go out and do that. If you look, first of all, a couple of weeks ago, we did this environmental justice activity there at Leeward Park, talking about environment, talking about wind, talking about air monitors. Trees are very important to us. We're a tree desert here in this community. I think that, you know, if you're looking at selling a home, the appraisers look at trees. If you got a tree in there, probably about $500 each of those trees that you have for the beautification of your yard. I think that, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of these trees that we're gonna be looking at, but I think that from 1959 to now, we haven't had an upgrade, and we need to get into reality in today's needs. The trees absorb carbon dioxide and give out oxygen, so we need that here. We need that. You look at Blanco, for instance, all the trees they've got there. You look at Modesto, which is a tree capital of the world,
King City.
King City, but I think that we need to push this forward. And I don't think we're gonna have that many issues with people saying, well, I'm not gonna do this, cut it down, and we're not gonna, we have an ordinance that says you can't just arbitrarily, you know, cut it down. So I'm in favor of this. I see his points, but we're looking at, you know, private residents and stuff like that, so.
Yeah, I would agree that trees don't require that much maintenance, you know, once every 5 to 7 years.
Yeah.
And it's only if it's a dangerous tree that it becomes a concern, because we need to remove it, like after a storm or something,
Right.
you know, and then maybe there would be funding in a case like that. Again, the ordinance doesn't require property owners to always bear the burden, but it requires them to when it's appropriate, in the discretion of the city.
I have a question. You mentioned in here the CAL FIRE grant.
Yes.
That is approved and coming, is that?
No, it's actually been received
It's
and
received
it's
it.
working on. I did ask, if the council like basically wanted to repeal this ordinance altogether for whatever reason, would that affect the grant? And the answer is no, because it's just taking inventory of our
Right.
trees, and it will provide information to the council when it's all done. It's basically how much it would cost, you know, for the council to take on that burden, because it would have an inventory of all the trees. It's gonna identify them. So it's needed to be done for the urban forest, and we're just in the stages, the beginning stages of it, but it won't affect, even if you repealed this ordinance, it wouldn't affect that grant, but it would affect any other grants we could possibly get, because it wouldn't be wouldn't be supportive of it if you repealed the ordinance.
Yeah. I think for me, I was looking, and you kind of covered it in your answer right now, is basically a tree mapping, right? You
Yeah.
want to know how many is this actually affecting, you know, I think what we're gonna run into is we are gonna have some residents who, if they've bought their house in the last 10 years in Treasure Park or another area that's been there quite some time, they may not be aware that those are their trees because it's on public property, right? And so I think that's where I'm thinking that might be most affected by this ordinance. So really educating the community and doing that work of educating and understanding. I like having clarity in the ordinance. I think the ordinance is a good ordinance. I think it's just unfortunate that it's taken so long because we have had properties change hands. We do have trees that are significantly older and they're beautiful, but it's gonna cost money to maintain them. So, you know, this is a tough one for me because I see both sides. I know we need it. I absolutely know we need this ordinance. I'm just, my heart for the ones that are gonna get caught in the middle of that. So hopefully we work with them, like you mentioned, you know, coming together, collaborating, especially if it's a property owner that recently purchased the home. And it's a tree that's over 40 years old, 50 years old, you know, coming to some sort of agreement of maybe working together so that it's not solely on one side more than the other, I guess.
We have, you know, this was just the first ordinance. I wanted to update what we currently have. As you know, I've said several times, I worked for Santa Maria for a long time and I dealt with trees my entire career. And they have pretty extensive ordinance about, like, if somebody wants to remove a tree because they don't like it, if they think it's dangerous, they have a whole procedure. You go out and you examine it, like, no, we'll do some root cutting to address your concerns. But if it is damaged, then they'll say, okay, you can remove it, but we want you to replace it, you know, by tree planting. We could explore something like that in the future, you know, where if a tree is too expensive to maintain, that we could have a way to arrange that instead of having the tree maintained at great expense, that it would just be allowed to be cut down and replaced with other plantings, maybe 3-to-1, 4-to-1, 5-to-1, something like that. There are ways we could address those concerns.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what it kind of sounds like in the grant, that that's something that would be covered, right?
I can't speak to that. I don't know.
Okay.
That would have to be.
It just said here the creation of long-term plan for maintenance and existing trees and potential locations, and then it talked about developing another plans or policy. So I'm just thinking that that could be brought up
It
later on
could, yeah.
separately, not associated with this particular ordinance.
Yeah, I, that was the only part of the staff board I didn't write, so
Yeah.
I
Okay,
can't
there we
speak to it, but I agree. It sounds like it would be possible.
A potential for us to
Yeah.
look at. Okay.
Any comments, Christina?
I think this is a challenge subject as well, but I'm an avid biker and so I'm always towing my child and we're always getting stuck on branches and trees. And I'm like, oh man, I've gotten whacked, my kids have gotten whacked. So safety is of an importance.
Completely agree.
Gene, anything?
Yeah, this is kind of a hard one because I asked when I first came to council and I had asked people, who owns the property between the street and the sidewalk? And nobody can answer it.
Well, I don't think you asked me because I
It's
just
the
did.
Well, you just did, but it was people I've asked who work here and all. And, you know, our residents in those areas tend to take care of stuff that's pretty much not theirs to take care of. So with this one, it is kind of hard because it's like, how many houses of property owners are affected by this? And it'd be something where I feel maybe us as a city should get in contact with them and say, look, this is what's going on. How can we help each other with, you know, the trees need to be taken care of and all. Like getting maybe some kind of contract, like when the property owner would be like, you know what, no, I love my trees, I'll take care of them, I don't want nobody to touch them. Just something that comes in where we know like, okay, they're gonna take care of it. Because like for me, I mean, it'd be a hard one, you know, if I bought a house and there's these trees in front, I'm like, well, they're not mine, so why am I having to take on this burden of keeping them trimmed over the sidewalk when I would feel it'd be on the city side? And I know us as a city, we don't have those capabilities and the monies, and to get a tree trimming company to come out to do that for us on the city side costs us a lot more, but it also, some of our residents might be in the point where they're fixed income and they can't afford to pay for that or anything. So it's one of those things I think we have to kind of tread the water carefully. I understand where you're coming from with the ordinance part of like, hey, you know, it's been like this since, you know, 1950 something, where, you know, $100 then was like, well, something, I don't want to pay that. You know, where everything has changed and we're just trying to get caught up with the times. But I just think we should look at how many residents might be affected by this to see what the number looks like, and then, you know.
We can, I mean, I don't know when the inventory will be done. I wish I did. I'm sorry. I mean, it is, you don't have to update. I mean, the ordinance is already in place. I mean, at least maybe we could change the planning commission to the director of public works and not make the other changes and hold off on the rest if you're comfortable. You don't want to go that, like, you don't want to increase the fine or something like that. But we can tinker with this. But it's, it ultimately, I mean, there's another, I mean, if you wanted to, I mean, there are other ways. I mean, we could do like an assessment, we could put an assessment district to the voters, or Melrose bonds to create money, to tax parcels, to create funds specifically to maintain the urban forest. It's some, so there would be a way to spread that burden, you know, across the entire city. Because everybody does benefit to some extent from trees, and if they're not on your property. So, you know, those are things we could look at in the future. And I'm pretty sure that the staff doesn't want to take on, they're not waiting for an opportunity to pounce on 20 or 50 houses. You know, they've been waiting to get the council's blessing so they could go and charge. That's not what this is about. This is about being paralyzed and not being able to take any action at all. Except coming to the council and having you guys do the decisions, and we just don't think that was fair. So I hear what you're saying, and I'm pretty sure that staff will tread carefully.
Yeah, I think there's two things that run parallel. One is this ordinance, and the other one is a urban inventory.
Yeah.
That, you know, those, we can have this set up, we've got this introduction today, and then look forward to that. And I'll find out when the urban forest inventory is gonna come. But I think that we need to step up in terms of laying down some kind of, ordinance that's not, many years is that, how many years ago is that?
Mm.
And I think, again, the benefit of a tree is good. One of the things with even Leroy Park, when there was one of the arborists that didn't want the old trees taken down because they were old and had many years of, since 40 something, those trees were very old. And there was a rub taking them down and putting new trees up or leaving them there and trimming those up. And I think that, you look at Leroy Park, Waller Park, for instance, that's nothing but trees. We lost out on 250 trees because of some controversy there for the community. That said, I think that this is people can come to us and look at it. This is first reading. But we need to set a standard. That's my feeling. Gilbert, anything?
Yeah, so, Philip, how did we come up with, the 100 to would you say 1,000?
Up to 1,000.
Up to 1,000.
Yeah, the misdemeanor is a flexible fine. It could be 100. It could be 900, 500, yeah, 250. It's in practice, like I said, in terms of administrative code enforcement, usually don't start at 1,000. Usually we'll do like 100, maybe 250 the next time, 500, and then you drop 1,000. Unless it's a really egregious violation, then you slap the 1,000 right away.
Is most of our trees within our city that have been here for so long, as you know, with the rugged winds that we get here, they all lean towards the east. Because Guadalupe has we have winds. If you look at all of our trees, they're all pointing to Santa Maria.
Another reason to have trees.
I joked with somebody earlier. I said they shouldn't call Chicago the Windy City. They should call Guadalupe the Windy City.
Yes.
Especially today.
So if they're still up, they've stood the test of time. Some of these trees, they're old, and it does look beautiful when you go down to Lompoc and you see. I'm not sure what street that is, but it's Walnut. But there's those old trees.
They interact.
It's 8th Street. It's 8th Street. Yeah, and I think they're cypress. I don't know. They're ancient trees though. And that just looks, like Pasadena. You've got those neighborhoods where those trees look really, really nice and upkept and. It's common sense, but I think we probably have to wiggle on some of that fine increments and how we put that together.
Well, anybody that's dissatisfied with the process, they would have hearing before our code enforcement officer, a code compliance hearing officer, Jack Owen. And then if they didn't like his ruling, they would bring it to you and you could set it straight, if necessary. So that would be one benefit of these amendments. Instead of the city council being the first and last shop, you would have an oversight.
Be a process in place, right?
Yes.
Basically, that's what I'm looking at.
It's also good to look at, like you say, if we have the inventory and we knew exactly what we're projecting, that's might be, something borderline that needs to be addressed.
We can ask Ms. Cruz to at least prepare a report for you for a future council meeting, even if it's just like a department report. Just on an update on when this urban. Yeah, I can ask her to update you on the details of where we're at and what it's, I'm sure she'd be happy to do that. She's very excited about the grant, so.
I'm very excited.
Yeah.
About this grant.
So I'm sure she would be happy to do that. I don't want to speak for her in terms of the workload. I can't say it'd be the next meeting, but probably within a month. Okay, so your recommendation to city council introduce ordinance number 2023-512 by title only for the first reading and to continue to the meeting of October 24th 2023 for second reading and adoption.
That is correct. Thank you.
Is there a motion to that order?
I'll motion.
Is there a second?
I second.
The motion is second. Any discussion? Let's do roll call.
Councilmember Costa Junior,
Aye.
Councilmember Robles,
Aye.
Councilmember Hernandez.
Aye.
Councilmember Lizaldi.
Aye.
Mayor Julian.
Aye, all ayes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Phil.
you.
This will be good. It's,
I think so too.
I don't think we're gonna have that much of an issue, although we know that the city can't afford.
Yeah. Maybe someday.
Yeah,
Well, it sounds like if we have that urban forest plan, then we can actually have more data to really
right.
Get the
have
grounds.
real numbers and then grow from there. Once you have that, you can really move forward.
And especially with that plan, it can give us, you know, say if somebody has to get their tree taken down, that they put something up and we know the right tree to put down also, something like that.
Little more structure.
Yeah, something that's not so invasive and you know, undermining concrete and all that.
You know, and in my other life, we built the expanded medical center in the Pomo. We had, there's 5 acres there. And there was a eucalyptus tree right in the middle of where we wanted to put a parking lot. And it's in the county. So we had to pay a county guy $500 to go and determine what kind of tree that was. And eucalyptus is a weed. I mean, it's just a big weed. But they're really strict. And I think we need to be a little more strict also. Okay, next, see future agenda items. You might have noticed I have, and I'll talk a little bit about it, an update that SB CAG wants to, in the first meeting in December, talk to us about some major construction that's gonna go on Highway 166, but that was added for first meeting in December. Any other additions, future agenda items?
Hannah, where are we with that joint use agreement with the school district? I noticed that it's on unscheduled, but.
So I have a meeting with Wendy tomorrow morning. To discuss that, just because we're gonna have to approach it differently than what we were originally thinking, so we might have to like kind of restructure the way that the format is for that.
Okay. And how's that going so far with them using the facility? Because I know they're already using the facility. Have you found that that's working okay right now? And
Yeah, I haven't had any issues with them. I think because they know that that's on the table, they've been a lot more mindful about the use and I know that they have. Last year, I think they only had the athletic director and maybe like one other staff person there during games, and this year they have like 4 staff members there, so there's a lot more school staff presence there, which is nice. Yeah, I haven't really had any issues. They've been really good about also if there's anything that the city is prioritizing in terms of like events, rescheduling their calendar to mesh with ours. So yeah, I haven't had any issues with them.
I still would really like to see an agreement in writing.
Yeah.
Just for our own staff to have that guide. And just have that mutual expectation, right? Just to know what everyone has agreed to. So thank you for the update.
Announcements? Gilbert, come in.
That's wrestling coming back.
We're working on that.
Such a style.
Yeah, Touch It Style is having their Choice for Talk car show this weekend. I believe, they're having, it's a $25 entrance fee, and all the proceeds go for our local kids in the Boys and Girls Club. And the, rolling time, I believe, is 7 to 10.
Mm-hmm.
And then, they're finished at 4.
Megan, you there? James?
Tomorrow they will be starting 7th grade boys basketball tryouts and girls basketball tryout. Tomorrow, 3:30 here at City Hall.
Christina?
I kind of think, oh, maybe not. Like I said,
That was a
that
different day.
disagreement.
That's volleyball, isn't it? Or is
I thought it was the 16th and is that tomorrow already?
No. Today's the 10th.
It's tomorrow.
Today's 10th.
This,
Monday.
Monday, next Monday.
what is tomorrow? Wednesday? Maybe
Wednesday,
it's tomorrow. I might be wrong. I might be wrong.
That's cool already. Wow, that was like that.
So,
Interesting.
I attended Open Streets this weekend. It was an amazing opportunity with assembly member to see the whole community out there. It was a really fun event. One of the things that I have been going to a few meetings is that there has been a fentanyl case on the rise with our youth. And so the more that we can talk to our youth and our community members, I think that is of importance. It seems like we're getting, and Pioneer Valley has seen a huge increase. And so anything that we can do to support our youth and our community, I think is of most importance.
Just a reminder for Friday and Saturday. So Friday night is a poetry jam and that starts at 6 p.m. and ends at 9. And then Saturday, the VVA will be holding a like a garage sale type of thing at the Veterans Hall parking lot. And that is from 11 to 4.
They're not going in the building, they're going to say.
No, yeah, that'll be outside. Yeah.
Okay, I had a few things. I don't thought if you want, there's a copy for you if you want. But last Thursday, Surge Out for Progress had their GED graduation ceremony here in the auditorium. 60 individuals actually got their GED, many from Guadalupe. And that was pretty cool. I've never seen that many people from whoever was there. It was just packed with family members and regular graduation. So that was cool.
Exciting.
And SBCAG last meeting last week, I think it was last week, no, it was a week before that. Anyway, we talked about, it's called the Highway 166 improvement in the city of Guadalupe. So what that means is that Caltrans will be, and I mentioned this before, Caltrans will be coordinating work between the railroad, Pasadena, the city of Guadalupe, to actually do construction on that area. It's not going to be until 25, 26, but it's going to be the signalization of the railroad tracks, signalization of Obispo Street. And there's no signalization at Flower Street that I know of, but everybody's kicking in a whole bunch of money, including the city, over $4 million from the city. Caltrans has a requirement to actually extend what they're doing all the way down to Santa Maria. So that whole project is going to be about $31 million, including the lump sums that coming from us and Pasadena. And
You'll be seeing some cooperative agreements coming
yes,
forward to the council.
yeah, there'll be a whole bunch of agreements.
Yeah.
One other thing is on 166 and Black Road. That's the reason SBCAG wants to be here in December. They're going to be putting in a signal there on Black Road. Plus, before Black Road, if we're going east, they're going to have turning lanes, not turning lanes, but passing lanes.
Thank goodness.
And what's going to happen, that road is going to be closed. Highway 166 will be closed for 4 weeks.
Oh my God. That's gonna be a problem.
Yeah, and so there's gonna be those of you familiar, if you're going on Main Street, you're gonna pass Bonita Lateral, you're gonna turn right on Ray Road, which is a little road about a quarter mile from Bonita. That turns into Sinton Road, which then hits Betaravia.
Almost a bit right now.
And then you turn left on Betaravia, and if you're going, you can turn left on Black Road and go and hit Stoll. So it's gonna be, for 4 weeks, it's gonna be closed.
Avoid.
So there's gonna be a signal light there at Black Road. There was the mayor's ball, every year, North County United Way has a mayor's ball, which, and Phil was there. Phil actually sponsored the table and did the flowers. And all the mayors, you had the mayors of Bilton, Santa Maria, La Poca, Guadalupe. Shumash, for instance, sponsored the table for $10,000. So that goes to United Way. And a lot of what's happening with United Way is what they did during the during the flood, they actually paid a caseworker for the little house by the park to actually casework those individuals that needed help in Pioneer Street. And they actually cut checks for these individuals. All the families that were impacted by the flood, United Way provided actual checks to them, to go over the hump. Food bank, last Thursday, 151 families served, thanks to all the volunteers, including our finance director, police chief, everybody else, fire guys, so many volunteers. Guadalupe Main Street Beach, as we may know, there's 3 phases to that. Before the kiosk, after the kiosk, that Blazing area, and then the major one is going over the dunes. That's not gonna happen until probably another year. One of the reasons is that road over the dunes where the Ten Commandments stuff is, that's now a sheer cliff. So one of the plans is to actually have a parking area just before or right near the sand company, and then walk to the beach. So that's gonna eliminate a lot of folks, but it's gonna be a while before that happens. Main Street, let's see, North County, there's the sub-regional meeting, the North County regional folks that are on SBK meet in Solvang every month before our SBK meeting. So all of us North County folks go to that meeting to take care of North. We and South County does the same thing. So they talk about the projects about North County, and then they talk about the project in South County, and then we put it together on the SBK meeting. And then what is really cool is that the North County representatives are really pushing for Guadalupe in this area. So that's why you're seeing so much money coming in, and Caltrans is on that SBK. So Caltrans has been working with Taylor Farms, with 151 Obispo, with Pasadena. So there's really been a good relationship with Caltrans, and then they're taking the lead on this whole project. So that's all I had.
I have an update, I'm so sorry, I was wrong on both of the events. So for the poetry jam, it is still October 13th at the Vets Hall, but it doesn't start until 6:30. And it goes until 9, and then the Veterans Yard Sale is still October 14th on Saturday, but it's 10 to 2 at the Veterans Hall parking lot.
Thank you.
Food insecurity is on the rise. I went to a food bank distribution last week, and you would see mothers with push carts running just to the site. They seen 500 individuals within the first hour and had to turn everybody else away. I was in tears seeing these mothers running to get this food. On October 18th, the food bank will be hosting a fundraiser. It's called Empty Bowls. It's $25. There is 2 seatings and a pickup option. I will be serving at the first one, and I hope to see others there.
That's here, Boston. Okay.
I know. I'm sorry, Fair Park.
Fair Park. Okay, good.
That's such a wonderful event for the community.
All right, adjournment to closed session. Is there a motion to adjourn the closed session?
All motion to adjourn the closed session.
I'll
A second?
I'll
A second, any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.